Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to another session of Sirah Nabi, and today we are at part 2. Part 2 is about the life of the Holy Prophet from the time of the Hijrah until the Wafat. From the time that the Holy Prophet migrated from Makkah to Medina until the time the Holy Prophet passed away. At the age of 53, after preaching for 53 years in Makkah, the Holy Prophet received the commandment to migrate to Hijrah to Medina. And so, starts another chapter in the history of Islam. This chapter includes many very important events in the history of Islam, and it included a few major battles. The first battle was in the second year of the Hijrah on the 17th day of Ramadan. Now, the Muhajirin, the Muslims who moved from Mecca to Medina, they left behind everything they had in Mecca. And the Quraysh Mushrikeen in Mecca took the property of the Muhajirin and sold it. And the Rasulullah ﷺ received news that there was a convoy that took the property of the Muhajirin to sell to Sham. And this convoy was on its way back. On its way back, it follows a route which passes near Medina. So the Rasulullah ﷺ gathered a small army of about 300 men. Some accounts said 313, some accounts said 317 men, and they waited for this convoy at Badar. Badar is a small place about 100 kilometers southwest of Medina. This convoy was led by Abu Sufyan, and Abu Sufyan received news about the Muslims waiting for him at Badar. So what he did was he took a detour. He took a longer route and did not go through Badar. Instead, he sent a message to Makkah asking for aid. So, from Makkah, they assembled an army of 1,000 men. 1,000 men from Makkah set out to fight with the Muslims at Badar. 1,000 versus 300. But by the will of Allah and with the aid of the Malaikat, according to some accounts, the Malaikat was sent out in 3 waves. The first wave was 1,000 Malaikat, the second wave was 2,000 Malaikat, and the third wave was 5,000 Malaikat. So, at the Battle of Badar, which took place on the 17th day of Ramadan in the second year of the Hijrah, the army of the Muslims, numbering only about 300 men, defeated the Makkah army of 1,000 men. And the leader of the army from Makkah, Abu Jahl, was killed in this battle. Right. The next battle was the Battle of Uhort from Makkah. After Abu Jahl has been killed in the Battle of Badar, Abu Sufyan became the new chief of the Quraysh, and he assembled a bigger army, 3,000 men. 3,000 men to avenge the defeat at the Battle of Badar. And they set out for Medina on the 7th day of Shawwal in the 3rd year of the Hijrah. They met for battle at a place called Uhort. It's a mountain, Uhort. On the Muslim side, they started out from Medina with 1,000 men, but 300 men withdrew soon after, and only 700 men reached the battlefield. Only 700 Muslims reached the battlefield to face 3,000 enemies. Now, the Rasulullah ﷺ placed his men very strategically. They waited for the Quraysh in an area where they were back up by the mountains, so they could not be attacked from the back and they could not be attacked from the right. On the left, there is a small pass which the Quraysh could use to attack them from the flank. However, the Rasulullah ﷺ sent 50 archers up onto a small hill to protect this flank, and he gave them strict instructions, very strict instructions. Do not leave your position no matter what happens. If you see us winning, Do not leave your positions. If you see us losing, do not leave your positions. Stay in your positions until I tell you otherwise. So, the 3,000 Quraysh fought with the 700 Muslims, but the Quraysh could not make use of their advantage in numbers because the battlefront was narrow, and so the Muslims began to win. The 50 archers on top of the little hill could see what was happening down there, and many of them said, "Let's go down and join our comrades." But some of them said, "No, no, 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 no. The Holy Prophet say to stay here. His orders are to stay here no matter what happens." However, most of the archers went down the hill to join the Muslims on the battlefield. And the Quraysh saw this and took advantage of this and sent the cavalry around and outflanked the Muslims. And so at the Battle of Uhort, which took place on the 7th day of Shawwal in the 3rd year of the Hijrah, the Muslims were defeated. The Muslims were defeated at the Battle of Uhud because some people did not follow the orders of the Holy Prophet. The next battle was the Battle of the Trench. From Mecca, they sent out 10,000 men, a big army, to directly attack Medina. Their plan was to attack Medina. Rasulullah could only raise an army of 3,000 men. Every man and male child in Mecca who could take arms were enlisted, and there were only 3,000 men in Medina to defend the city. One of the Sahaba, Salman al-Farisi, he is a man from Persia, told Rasulullah ﷺ that in Persia they had a better technique to defend their cities. They dug trenches around the cities. In Arabic, a trench is called a Khandak. So this is also called the Battle of Khandak. So the Rasulullah ﷺ and the Muslims dug trenches around Medina. And the Makkah army, although the Makkah army outnumbered the Muslim army by 3 times, 10,000 versus 3,000, they besieged Medina, but because of the trenches and by the will of Allah, they could not attack Medina. So after 27 days, from the 5th day of Shawwal, to the 2nd day of Zulqa'dah in the 5th year of Hijrah, the Makkah army retreated. 10,000 men could not defeat 3,000 Muslims in Medina. They retreated. This is actually considered a victory for the Muslims, right? Now, 1 year later, the Holy Prophet had a dream, and he dreamed that he was doing tawaf at the Kaaba. He took this as an omen to mean that he should go and do an umrah at the Kaaba. So he went with 1,400 Muslims from Medina, and they left for Makkah in the month of Zulqa'dah in the 6th year of Hijrah. But the Quraysh Mushrikeen in Makkah did not allow them to enter the city of Makkah. Instead, they met the pilgrims from Medina in a place called Udaibia. Udaibia is about 50 kilometers west of Makkah. They had a discussion which ended in a treaty, which is called the Treaty of Udaibia. The Treaty of Udaibia says the Muslims will not perform the Umrah that year. They will perform the Umrah the following year. And there will be a ceasefire between the Muslims in Medina and the Quraysh of Makkah for 10 years. 10 years ceasefire, no war, and both sides are free to form any alliances with anybody they wanted. And one very outstanding point was, if anybody from the Quraysh in Makkah were to go over to Medina to join the Muslims, this man from Makkah will be sent back. But if anybody from the Muslims in Medina were to go over to the Makkah, they need not be sent back. They will not be sent back. This seems to be a one-sided treaty, but it is actually of advantage to the Muslims. because it allowed the Muslims to concentrate on more important affairs like growing their army, like improving their economy. And the following year, in the 7th year of Hijrah, in the month of Muharram, Rasulullah ﷺ took an army of 1,600 Muslims to do battle with the Jews in the area called Kaiba. Kaiba is about 100 kilometers north of Medina. The Jews have been the allies of the Quraysh Mushrikeen in Mecca, and so the Rasulullah ﷺ took an army of Muslims of only 1,600 men to battle against the Jews, who had an army of 14,000 men. But the Jews were separated, were scattered all over the place in little forts here and there. And so the Rasulullah ﷺ and his small army conquered these forts one by one until the whole area was conquered. And this happened in the month of Muharram in the 7th year of Hijrah. At last, at the age of 60, Rasulullah ﷺ gathered an army of 10,000 men from Medina and marched on Mecca to retake Mecca. And finally, on the 10th day of Ramadan, in the 8th year of the Hijrah, Rasulullah ﷺ reconquered Mecca and entered Mecca again, victorious. This happened on the 10th day of Ramadan in the 8th year of Hijrah. Then the Rasulullah ﷺ returned to Medina, and 2 years later, in the 10th year of Hijrah, the Rasulullah ﷺ with his companions went for the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. 100,000 Muslims joined the Rasulullah ﷺ for this final farewell pilgrimage, the Haji Wida. This happened on the 4th day of Zul Hijjah in the 10th year of the Hijrah. And a few days later, on Mount Arafat in the valley of Urana, Rasulullah ﷺ gave his Khutbah Wida, the farewell sermon. This place is about 30 kilometers east of Mecca, and in this Khutbah Wida, the farewell sermon, the last sermon of the Rasulullah ﷺ, he mentioned many things. He reminded the Muslims of many things. He started his khutbah with saying, I speak to you now, and I do not know whether I will be with you again this year, at this time next year. I do not know whether I will be with you again next year at this time. And he reminded them about many things. And at the end of the khutbah, at the end of the sermon on Mount Arafah, Rasulullah ﷺ reminded the Muslims, so I have shared my message with you, and I want you to share this message with others so that the others can tell it to others. And this is an instruction and order, in fact, from the Holy Prophet Rasulullah ﷺ, that we Muslims, we have received the message of Islam, and it is our duty to share this message with other people. It is our duty to da'wah, to share the message of Islam. So, this is near the end of the story of the Holy Prophet himself. 1 year later, actually not many months later, in the 11th year of Hijrah, on the 12th day of Rabi'ul Awal, on the 12th day of the month of Rabi'ul Awal, in the 11th year of Hijrah, after about 10 days of illness, after about 10 days of fever, Rasulullah ﷺ passed away in Medina. And according to some accounts, he passed away around Doha. According to other accounts, he passed away around Zuhur. So, on the 12th day of the month of Rabi'ul Awal, in the 11th year of Hijrah, Rasulullah ﷺ passed away. And that ended one chapter in the history of Islam, but we Muslims, we must remember the last message of the Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the last message that he gave on Mount Arafat in his farewell sermon. And so I have shared my message with you, and now it is for you to share this message with others, and others can share it with others. So we Muslims, it is our duty. We have received the message of Islam. It is our duty to share this message with others, so that inshallah one day every single living person on this earth, every race, every tribe will receive the message of Islam, inshallah. Thank you very much for following this short program. Inshallah, we'll meet again in another part of this series. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.